26 countries around this table will discuss the important and urgent matter of how to further enhance our military assistance to Ukraine. It is countries that have already demonstrated a will to go both above and beyond to provide military assistance to Ukraine. Assistance which has been vital to halt Putin's brutal assault on Ukraine. We are also today joined by the IDCC from Stuttgart. We're glad, of course, for that, and also joined by the European Union, who plays an important role in the international donation coordination. We meet today to reinforce our commitment to Ukraine's defense struggle and to prevent that Putin can succeed with his land grab. To that end, we'll discuss how to enhance our support to Ukraine on different key areas. This includes training activities, common funding for buying weapons intended for Ukraine, increased industrial productions of weapon systems, and as well of demining activities. So once again, everybody, welcome to Copenhagen. Welcome to the castle of Christiansborg. It's a great honor for us to have you here. But now, first, it is a special honor that we can now welcome the leader of Ukraine's fight against the Russian aggression, President Volodymyr Zelensky, who will address us live from Kiev. Dear President, we know that you have a short time and that you are short on time. It is highly appreciated that you have taken your time to address our conference here today. Your capacity as a leader is an inspiration for all of us. Without any more delay, I'll now give the word to His Excellency President Volodymyr Zelensky. The word is yours. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, dear Premier Minister Fredriksson, dear Minister Butsko, dear participants, ladies and gentlemen who participate in the conference. I am thankful for organization of such an important event, which is directly, immediately important right now and not only to Ukraine. First of all, I would like to remind you one episode of our shared history. It occurred in Sweden, around 700 kilometers from Copenhagen, a little bit more of 1 hour flight. One day on the nuclear station Forsmark, the radiation control equipment detected the radiation pollution, and then they checked everything swiftly, and the leakage of radiation in Forsmark haven't been found. But from the other spots in Sweden and also from Finland, the message started to appear that they also fixed the increased radiation level. And concerns were raised in Denmark as well, where they also fixed the increased radioactive elements level, and it became clear that emergency occurred, but they didn't know where exactly. After analyzing the character of pollution, the direction of and speed of wind, they found out that it is somewhere on the territory from Minsk to Black Sea, that the catastrophe occurred somewhere there. It was April 1986. Only one day have passed after the nuclear reactor explosion in Chernobyl. Russian authorities kept silent today, and they tried to diminish the scale of the catastrophe, but it was impossible to hide it. It already was known in Europe. They already had proofs for pollution, and the discussion already started how it's danger to all the people. I won't remind you all the details for these days. I think you all know about it, about the fire on the Chernobyl station and the efforts of those who tried it to localize the catastrophe, about the diagnosis of acute radiation disease, and about the people who, being in horrible agony, were begging for salvation. the significant territories were polluted. Around the Chernobyl, we still have the alienation zone where people are forbidden to live. Hundreds of thousands of inhabitants of different countries have suffered in that or other way from Chernobyl. And yes, after this catastrophe, around all the world, they were thinking how to make it more secure, the nuclear energy. Yes, they've been observing the special standards to guarantee that no such catastrophes will occur again. And yes, nobody could even think that Europe can be at the face of another catastrophe on the nuclear station, not because of someone violated some security standards, but because of some state consciously will use nuclear station for terror. That's what Russia is doing now. And if if Soviet authorities try to hide Chernobyl catastrophe and its full consequence, then Russia is even more cynical and even more dangerous. It itself does everything that the risk of nuclear catastrophe would be maximum, and it lies to all the world that seemingly someone else is guilty. We need to protect Europe of this threat. We all together and most possible, not only Europe, because Zaporizhzhia nuclear station is the biggest on our continent. It is the third by its size in the world. 6 energy blocks. During the years of its operation, fortunately, there was no incident that could endanger the security of Ukrainians or Europeans, but now Russian occupation army is using Zaporizhzhia nuclear station for terror and armed provocations. Russia has turned nuclear station on the battlefield. When Russia arrived to Zaporizhzhia nuclear station, their tanks shelled it. Direct fire on the station by placing combat equipment on the territory of the station and even doing the utilization of the ammunition. Russian military cannot not be aware that they are putting all the Europe under the threat of the nuclear catastrophe. And of course, Russian authority understands which are the aftermath when its army will fire nuclear station, in particular with reactive artillery. Just recently, they damaged the communication lines with our energy systems and also the equipment for energy monitoring, the nitrogen oxygen station, the pipelines of hydrogen and infrastructure. And even that day, Europe were just near the nuclear catastrophe. And even now, we are convinced that the trajectory of the cruise missile, which are used by Russia to fire the Ukraine, is not accidentally that it is going through Zaporizhzhia nuclear state. It's all for Russian nuclear terrorists. Russia is now terrorist state, and it is holding hostage the nuclear station, and it's blackmailing everyone with the nuclear catastrophe. I'm sure that every one of you have thought how to do if Russia will use tactical nuclear weapon. Think about that one, that Russia can provoke the largest in history radiation emergency in Zaporizhzhia nuclear station, and the factual aftermath can be even more catastrophic than Chernobyl, and by essence, the same as employment by Russia of nuclear weapons, but without actual nuclear strike. Nobody could stop wind if it will carry radiation, but all of us together can stop the state terrorist. And the sooner we will stop Russia, the sooner Europe and the world can feel safe. Everyone that we need for this, you all know. Sanctions against Russia needs to be strengthened and without any loopholes. As a response to nuclear blackmail, we need to introduce tough sanctions against Rosatom and all the Russian nuclear sector, but not to have agreement with them. We need constant political pressure to Russia to increase the quantity of countries, participants of anti-war coalition, and decrease the circle of those who is ready to help Russia in any way in these circumstances. And even more, we need to support Ukraine even more with weapons and ammunition to really stop Russia armed forces of Ukraine need to have as much ammunition as is needed, that it would be tangible that Russia is not capable to pressure on the battlefield, and weapons to Ukraine should be delivered of such air power and such a range that Russia would be forced to think finally about solution, about the peaceful solution. The Minister of Defense of Ukraine, Alexei Reznikov, who is now present here at the conference, for sure will inform you about the concrete defense needs. The second point is finances. Russia still receives tens of billions of dollars thanks to trade with other countries, including Europe. And in Ukraine, monthly deficit, only the state budget is about $5 billion. And destruction because of war happening, it's on the territory of Ukraine, not other country. And we cannot wait when the war will stop to renew the normal life. Our children, just as your children, have to go to school. Our youth, just as your youth, have to study at university. In Ukraine, just as in your country, we need to have hospitals, we need to have social infrastructure operational, and thus Ukraine needs restructuring right now, immediately. And even more before the winter period, we need to do demining activities, and of course we need to prepare the defense for the winter conditions, and thus sufficient and timely financial support for our country, for budget and for fast recovery is the same critical just as weapons and ammunition for our army and sanctions against Russia. And the country who blocks this financing for Ukraine cannot have any justification. It has to remember that it's a European country and it needs to justify this and it to correct this problem immediately. And third point is export to Russia, the delivery to the companies of state terrorists of parts and production of double purpose. Russia wouldn't have any combat capabilities in the modern condition if not imported detail, electronics, optics, and other very important foreign manufactured parts that used for drones, communications, armored material as well. This flow to the technical system to Russian terror needs to be stopped immediately. We need to have immediate control mechanisms for any delivery to Russia, that we wouldn't miss any part that could be used to produce armament for shelling peaceful cities or nuclear stations. Ladies and gentlemen, the reaction now should be full scale. Just as war which Russia started, nobody needs new catastrophes. We need to do conclusions out of catastrophe in 1986, out from the decades that Russia were using to prepare for this wild war against the whole free Europe. Out of 8 years war on Donbass, out of 170 days of terror against Ukraine after the 24th of February. No silencing, only truth. No lingering, only decisive actions. No dismay, only resolute unity. We need armament and ammunition for our defense to the maximum. We need finances for Ukraine in the necessary, insufficient volume and without any bureaucratic blockages. We need full isolation of terrorist sponsor, most of all economic and technological ones, and the most tough sanctions. It is our responsibility with you, before our countries, before all the future generations of the free people, to do everything that we could to stop Russia, to provide its defeat in this war and guarantee that no other state could repeat this terror. And I believe that we will fulfill this responsibility. Thank you for attention. Thank you, Denmark and Great Britain, for the common organization of this conference that can be historical. It can be historical thanks to our shared efforts. Thank you one more time. Glory to Ukraine.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are all honored that you took the time to address us here today. We have listened carefully to your